So we up?
Yes.
I feel like it's been so long since I spoke with you
minute.
guys. It's been a long time since we've been in here. How's everybody's summer going? That's the first thing.
Mine is wonderful. I'll answer first.
Yes, answer first. You just came back from Bermuda.
What's up, Style Code Quest? Yes, I just came back from Bermuda. It was an amazing time. What a great island.
Yeah, Condon was living the life. I'm telling you, you got to go. Look, you got to go to Kai's personal page. You got to go to Kia's page. You got to go to these pages and look at them. They was living the best life. I took the kids to Jamaica a couple weeks ago. They was living their best life. We had a swim up room, Kai. So we had a room with a private pool. And when I tell you these kids was jumping in the water at 6 in the morning and staying in the water till 9 p.m. at night, like that was the shit, you know what I'm saying? It's raining in New York City today. The remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie is on its way up top, and so it's gonna be wet all week. I wanna give a shout out before we get started to National Night Out. I was at the National Night Out event for the 79th Precinct today. At Restoration. If you follow my page, then you know that we had some issues with particular people and the vandalism of the National Night Out banner. I am happy to say that we didn't have any problems today. It was an amazing event and everybody came in peace. I want to give a shout out to Mano. Mano is having Mano Day, August 16th. If you are in New York City and you want to come out, it's going to be on Marcy between Green and Lafayette. Mano Day, and Good People NYC, my organization, is a part of that event. What else we got going on? We got Stoop Set on August 17th. So you know the Stoop Set brand is a brand that I started along with the Block Association, and we're going to have I think this is going to be our finale for the summer. It's going to be on Hancock between Marcy and Tompkins. And so August 16th, Mano Day, August 17th, Stoop Set. I think I've blasted off all of the marketing pieces. Do you want to talk about the casting call?
I don't have a date for the casting call yet, so just follow the page. Just look out for that. And the fashion show, September 7th.
September
Mark your calendars.
7th, the fashion show. And so if you know us at Hip Hop Closet, you know we do our thing when it comes to that fashion show. I get excited. I saw you post it and I got excited. I was like, oh shit, it's on, it's popping.
It's gonna be a great time.
Right? So we always have a good time. This is gonna be no different. We always kill it. The models kill it, the designers kill it. Yeah, so we're good. Where do I start with this? How do I introduce you? I met this young lady during Tama Open Street. Shout out to DJ Reborn.
Yes.
One of the perks of programming block parties and outdoor functions in Brooklyn is that your Rolodex of creatives grows exponentially. There are so many DJs in our community that are amazing and that can rock a party. I always say that DJs are high IQ beings. You kind of gotta be. For you to be able to stand in a club with 200 people dancing and for you to be calculating what should come next, that's a skill set. And it's a skill set that's based in intelligence. So I met this young lady during Reborn set at Tama in 2021, and then I would see her around, see her in all the cool spots with all the cool kids. And then Dan, shout out to Dano. Where's Dano? Is Dano back?
No.
You said that with a whole attitude.
He'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, shout out to my brother Dano. Dano saw you at an event and he told you should be on his show.
Yes.
Right.
Diamond D. We went to the Diamond D.
That sounds like a Dano event. Yeah, that's the type of shit my brother be at.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this conversation. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know much about this sister, although like I said, we've met and we've been in circles together for about 3 years. So I'm excited about to have this conversation. I want you to be excited about this conversation. I want to introduce to some and present to others DJ Misbehaviour.
Hello.
How you doing? Good. We're gonna start at the very, 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 very beginning with you. What is your, and you can answer or not answer, what's your birth name?
Patricia.
Patricia.
Yes.
Oh shit.
Or Patricia,
Okay. Okay, Patricia.
Yes.
And where were you born?
I was born in London, but I didn't live in London very long. We moved to the west coast of England, maybe when I was 6 months old. But then I ended up going back to London and living in London. So
What city is in the west coast of England? Where did you live?
well, it was a place called Devon that doesn't really have a very big city except for Exeter, but it's known for its sort of natural beauty and So I was a country kid.
I want to tell you a story. My one of my sisters once asked if there were beaches in London.
Well, not in London, no, but
I mean, she meant in the UK,
England.
right? In
Yeah,
England.
yeah, of
Tell me the
course.
difference between what is UK, England? Like, give me that delineation.
United Kingdom would include Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England, and that was, I suppose, also called Great Britain. The only part that isn't part of that would be Southern Ireland.
So, UK is a conglomeration of countries.
Yes. So if you're from the UK, you could be from Scotland, you could
Or
be from
Wales, or Northern Ireland.
Yes. If you're England, you're from England.
You're from England.
Yeah.
And London rests in England.
And London, rests in England, is the capital.
As the capital of England.
Yes.
And Devon
Was on the west in the sort of, you know how England, I have to do it that way.
I
has
see
that
it.
bit that sticks
Yeah,
out.
it has that
It's
little
down
butt.
that way.
Right.
I was in the butt.
you was in the butt.
In the butt, in the
Oh.
countryside. Yeah.
Okay. What type of child was Patricia?
Ooh. Quite feisty. I was very accident prone.
Mm-hmm.
I'd do things like, when I had a little bike, the 3-wheel ones. I remember I fell and cracked my head open on a step and had to go to hospital and have stitches.
Wow.
Because it was too big for me to carry up the steps, but I did it anyway, kind of thing. So I was a bit kind of reckless. I was always falling and bumping myself, and my mum was always worried that the social services would think that she hit me.
Yes, you
And it
popped
was like,
on you.
no, I was just very sort of, I'm an Aries, we tend to run at things, without thinking. But I like country life then. I think it's kind of cool for a kid, but it was very different then, because I can remember going out, me and my sister and maybe neighbours, friend, kids, and our dog. And my mum, we wouldn't be in view of her for hours. We'd just come back when we were hungry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had that same thing here in Asia.
Here now, I can't imagine that when you're 6.
Yeah. That's funny because we grew up the same way here, and I grew up in Crown Heights and in Clinton Hill. And I was 9-10 years old and out all day. Like, my mother would throw us out the house. You can't stay in the house. You got to go outside. So we would be like, and my mother would like call me out the window, and I could be anywhere on the block. Like, I could be on either end, and I could hear her yelling my name. And that's how she would beckon me.
Right.
She didn't know where the fuck I was.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was the same. I mean, it's hard to imagine now, isn't it, that you'd let your 6-year-old out all day.
But I think
but
that's
then in a
because it
city,
was.
I don't think in London they would have done that anyway. So,
Right,
I think
right.
it was just,
You said you have a sister. You have any other siblings?
no, just one.
You're the older or the younger?
Younger,
By how many years?
2.5.
So the younger kid always gets the shits. The younger kid always gets to be the shit. Like, the older
Yeah.
kid has to be the pioneer of the family, and then the younger kid needs to just come by.
She
and
would
just,
always get mad about that
Yeah.
too. Like, I remember sort of, when I was like 16, I think it was 16, and I was going to high school. It was like my friend his parents were away and they were having a party and it was all night, and I was like, can I go? And they said yes. And my sister was like, you wouldn't have let me go when I was 16.
Yeah, the first
all
child
their
has all the burden.
Yeah, and they have to sort of break the walls down for the next child. No, I
Right.
get it. Yeah.
Right. When was the first time you ever heard hip hop? What was the first hip hop
Ooh.
song you ever heard?
Oh my gosh. I can't remember the first song, but I remember that I was on, we used to do this thing called interrailing in Europe. Like, you could buy this one ticket and you could take trains all over Europe for a month.
For a month?
Yeah, so it was like a lump price. You couldn't go on all the high-speed trains and the fancy ones, but you could. So, sometimes as a group, we go to Europe for like a month in the summer, and we just camp and do whatever. And we were on a train somewhere, and I was really into soul and funk. That was I was very rooted in the 70s for a very long time. I couldn't really pull my head out of it. And these kids were on the train, and they were saying there's this thing called hip hop. and they were playing me stuff. But I honestly can't say I remember the I know it had that very classic 80s sound. I call it, it's more sort of crunchy, the beats, but I honestly can't remember what the tracks were.
Let me ask you this. I don't want you to reveal your age, but I need to ask you this so that I can ask this question.
Right.
What year were you born?
62.
Okay,
so
you were
revealing
born
my
perfect.
age.
No.
Only
This
if
is
someone could do
perfect.
math.
Right, but this is
Right.
perfect, right? Because Exodus, the album
Is that when it
that
came
Bob
out?
Marley.
Ooh. In 62?
No, it didn't come out in 62.
Oh, I was
It
gonna
came out
say,
in about
no.
78 or 78.
78.
What I'm saying is you were coming of age at that time.
I
So look,
yes.
this is what I'm
Yes.
getting at. So for me, when we discuss black music in the UK, right?
Right.
For me, someone who grew up loving reggae music,
Yeah.
dub music, the dub sound out of the UK really defines to me the apex of black music coming out of the UK in the 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah.
But outside of dub sound, am I saying that right? It's called dub sound.
I
Dub,
just say dub.
dub, right? Outside of dub, you had Bob Marley, who was in exile from Jamaica in the late 70s, that came to the UK
Yeah.
and recorded Exodus, which is one of it's in the conversation for best
Yeah.
album ever. So you at that time were a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old. Talk to me about that coming of age time.
The thing with that is I was growing up, we were living in the north of England then.
Right.
So in the north of England, when I started, we called it sixth form college, but it was like high school.
Uh-huh.
So when I went to high school, the region was very, very depressed. It was all the industries that were declining. So the best I could equate it to is probably sort of like the Detroit area.
Right. At post the motor era.
Because
Right.
it was coal, steel,
Uh-huh.
shipping. It was all those things that they were struggling, and we had this prime minister called Margaret Thatcher who was fighting with the unions and trying to close everything down.
Right.
But all my year were into rock,
Uh-huh.
heavily into rock, still with the long hair and the baggy jeans but the year below me, because there weren't that many black people up in that area.
And we're going to get to that too, yeah.
But the year below me got really into the two-tone sound, which was that fusion of reggae and kind of not quite punk, but it became they called it two-tone. And I think it was a time when young kids came together, black and white, and started making their own music. And there was bands like the Specials, band called the Specials. So they had a kind of funky ska-like sound to them.
Right.
But they were also sort of young and current and pop.
Yeah.
And I always really wished I was in that year because I secretly liked that music.
They were
better.
a year under you.
Yes.
Right.
And then the way they dress in the suits and a bit more like a mod, I guess, almost. And I just thought they were cooler. And but at the same time, when I look back, I really still do like rock music. British rock music in the 70s was pretty.
Well, British rock music is like really dynamic.
Yes.
You know, it's far more dynamic than American rock. Now, America had rock and roll.
Yes.
Right, and rock and roll
Yes.
obviously came out of black music.
Yes.
But British rock kind of comes from this obtuse place, and pardon me because I'm an American, right?
Yeah.
So every other form of music I subconsciously compare to
Right.
here, right? But what I can tell you is that I used to feel that way. Like, I remember watching The Clockwork Orange. You remember that
Oh
movie?
God, yeah.
And the soundtrack,
Yeah.
it's like so crazy to
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
right? It was just such a crazy movie.
Yeah.
And so things like that define the UK for me. Rockers, the movie,
Yes.
kind of defines the UK for me, right? But what I will say is that the music scene, again, looking back, using history as a template, it seems like it was very fun back in the 70s.
Oh, I think so. I mean, yeah, it was. I'm not saying hit, but I think Britain were really, really passionate about music. Even if they're not going to be a musician or they have nothing, or maybe subconsciously, maybe it was the people that I generated to,
That
and
you
just
were
assume that everyone,
Right.
you know, I just find people that are really nerdy and they want to know everything, and they you know, they want to share it, and I also feel like I mean, I know, sort of jumping back into up to the 90s hip hop, a lot of artists who were, you know, in those golden years and everything, still get more love now. They can go to Europe and they can do shows and they can.
Oh, absolutely. That
you know,
phenomenon has maintained the careers of a lot of 90s
Yeah.
hip hop people.
Yeah.
The love for the music in Europe.
Yeah, especially I think Britain, Germany very much so, because they had American bases, army bases in Germany, so they were being subjected to hip hop with those guys coming over, and I think there's just something about, you know, like here in England you'll go to certain reggae vibes and you'll see really young kids there. And it will be like an old dub or an old rootsy thing, and there'll be lots of young kids, and they want to learn about, even if they like the current stuff, they still want to sort of impress themselves by saying, but I know where it came from, I know what happened 10 years ago, I know where this sort of thing started. And I also think when it comes to reggae, in particularly in London, also Bristol, which is another sort of more the west side of southwest of England. That's where a lot of Jamaicans went. And the first Jamaican boat was in the
Brixton?
late 40s or early 50s. The first Jamaicans were coming over, so that's why we got subjected to.
You said Bristol or Brixton?
Bristol. Well, Brixton's in London.
Brixton's in London.
Yes, and Brixton was a community where a lot of West Indian people went.
I got some folk out there, and I never even been out there before. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, I could have worn. I have a Brixton. My friend has a record store in Brixton. I should have worn her T-shirt. Do a quick change. But I think we've been subjected to that music before we maybe even felt that we were. But I think in the north, the more immigrants who came in were Indian and Bangladeshi, and they went north. And I never know why what the reason was. So I could say we had the best curries in the north of England, for example.
Immigration, right?
Yeah, but I'm not very knowledgeable about things like that. Why some sort of people chose
certain communities.
Yeah, and whether it was to do with work originally or to do with.
Well, I would say offhand it probably had to do with the economy and where they could afford to go.
Yeah.
Right, and then also, I'm not sure about what race looks like in the UK, but what I do know is that people tend to flock amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And so, like, if 2 or 3 Bangladeshi is in a spot, then
They're gonna go.
Right, then
Yes,
I'm gonna go to that
exactly.
spot, right?
Yeah.
What did Patricia want to be when she grew up?
She didn't know. She didn't have a clue. I really had no, and I think that was because my parents were quite straight. So although
What did they do for a living?
My dad was actually a brewer, like worked for breweries.
He used to drink beer all day. That's my guy.
He did drink. Well, he didn't drink beer all day, but he drank a lot of it. And my mum had been a secretary for a big advertising agency. And she taught me a lot actually about, we used to read magazines, she'd teach me, she'd say this writing is called copy, it's going to make you buy things you don't need. She'd teach me that when I was super young. And she saw advertising as a way to manipulate. She didn't necessarily think it was a good or a bad thing, but she saw the realism. She teaches the realism of it.
Right.
You don't need that, but this is how the words are making you.
Bring you in. So, there's a book that I read called The Buying Brain. The Buying Brain talks about all of that.
Well, I studied
colors
hypnosis
and everything.
It's like hypnosis as well. It's very, but yeah. So she did that, and then when she had kids, she stopped work. But yeah, they were quite conservative, I'd say. So it would sort of be like, well, especially in those days, a lot of people, whether they were educated in the way that they go to university or they were going to be an apprentice for something, you were supposed to know by the time you were 16, 17 what you wanted to do, and I didn't have a clue. And they'd keep bringing me
To
sort of trying to give me careers advice, or my dad would come home with brochures that would be like a career with HSBC, and I'd be like, I don't want to work in a bank, and they'd be like, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. So in the end, I went and did business studies, because that's what everyone did when they didn't know what they wanted to do.
right, so you go to university, is that
So I
what it's
went to what was called a polytechnic. So university was
Polytechnic,
yeah.
Polytechnic, yeah.
And I went to a place called Sheffield, which was really hot on the music scene at the time, because three of the biggest 80s pop bands, Human League, was another one called Heaven 17, and ABC, all came out of Sheffield around the same time. And within that, there was a lot of really cool underground. I don't know if you've heard of Pulp, but Pulp was well, Pulp was a band from Sheffield. So it had a really thriving music scene.
Did you love music back then?
Yeah.
Like, would you buy records?
I bought records when I was about 8.
And you would have them like
player, and I'd play them over and over and over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
33s, 45s.
Yeah. Mainly 45s actually.
Right,
Well, no,
because
both.
it's the singles.
Both.
45s were all
Yeah.
singles. It was a time when 33s were only albums.
Yes.
So 45s was the thing. 8 tracks. Did you have 8 tracks? Back then?
No.
Oh, that's
but
an
my
American.
dad he started, we'd sort of, that was the entertainment. There wasn't much TV then, That was the entertainment. He'd play records.
Right.
But we wouldn't be allowed to touch them, and I think I must have wanted one. Well, my mum bought us both. She bought us one, and then we broke it by changing the speed so much. She kept saying, "You're going to break it," and then one day there was a big bang and smoke
you
came
broke
out
it.
of it, and we broke it.
fucked
So
it up.
I don't think for years my sister got another one, but I think I must have bugged them, and I got one, and then I just. I don't even know where we bought records from. I think we may have gone to a record shop. And at that time there was a supermarket called Woolworths, kind of like a supermarket.
Woolworth?
Yeah.
We had a Woolworth.
You have
yeah.
Woolworths? Could you
Yeah.
buy 7-inch singles in?
I don't
Because
remember
in England you
Woolworth
could buy.
selling. I don't remember Woolworth selling
Yeah.
albums, but they sold a lot of shit. But I don't remember
Yeah,
selling
no, that's
albums.
where a lot of people would buy that. It was mainly top 40. It wasn't like deep.
Right.
It was like, here are the current singles. And,
Right.
But I always like the soulful stuff.
So-
even from little.
Now you're in your 20s. You went to Polytechnic,
Yes.
right? It's the 80s. It's the mid 80s.
It's
now.
the 80s.
Shit is popping now.
Yes.
What is Patricia doing?
Well, Patricia was in Sheffield. Then I went to Australia for a year because I just
Okay.
wanted to travel.
How's Australia?
That time I liked it because of the nature. It's pretty incredible as a natural world, and I did huge road trips, like thousands and thousands of miles, all by car.
Driving through
So I did really.
the backlands, what they call
Yeah,
it.
we break down where you only saw a car maybe every 2 hours and you wave, that kind of thing. It was pretty cool, and
Were you with people then? Or you were by yourself?
my best friend at school, her sister was out there, so I started off by staying with her sister, and then one of my friends at Polytechnic was out there,
Right.
so I went to Melbourne where she was, and then
You're just living the life.
I was just living the
so
life,
sick.
and I always liked traveling. The thing is, I had the bug for traveling, but whenever I get to a city, I'd always try and end up in a club. And I wasn't particularly clubby. It was just they felt like home. I think
Right.
it was like I'm going to where the music is,
Right.
and I think I remember the club in Melbourne. I think that might be the first time I heard "Sign of the Times" Prince, and was like, whoa.
Ooh.
But there was a lot going on with hip hop at that time, but not so much there. So I guess there was that gap. But yeah, no, Australia was pretty cool. It's a long way.
You ever have like a partner? Were you ever married? You ever have children?
No. I mean, lots of partners often. but
Talk that
no,
talk.
no.
Lots of partners.
I
I can
know,
talk that talk with you now. Let's talk now.
Over the years.
Right.
But no, I never, I think at one point I was just like, no, I don't want to be tied down. And then I don't think I had the drive in those. I think some women, the need to procreate is so strong, it doesn't matter whether it's a sperm donor or I didn't really, that never appealed to me. I think it would have had to be the right person at the right time. And
timing is everything.
And the timing was never.
Yeah, timing is everything.
I mean, I was proposed to twice when I was like 18 and 21, and I was like, hell no.
Fuck out of here.
Married? So, and then by the time, and actually one of them I look back would have made a fantastic husband, but there you go. But, you know, and then when the time, it's timing and the right person, because I mean, it happens. I have a lot of friends who somehow, male and female, are tied to somebody terrible through a kid,
right.
you know, and that can be hell.
It can, right.
So I think I was always scared that I'd be sort of connected to somebody, you know, terrible. But I don't think I had the drive like some women had.
I think you kind of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you kind of was focused and centered on your happiness. And sometimes like relationships require a level of sacrifice.
Yes.
Children absolutely
100%.
require a level of sacrifice. And sometimes in the journey of happiness, people are able to ascertain that this not for them.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's just what you were. Like, that's just not for me. I'd rather be in the backlands of Australia fucking doing what the fuck I want to do. Right? When did I don't want to skip too far, but I want to know about DJ Misbehaviour. When did this happen? Like, when did DJ, tell me about the first time you said to yourself, I want to figure how to DJ.
Okay, well, to slightly backtrack, I used to make tapes at Poly, and there were clubs, but there was a lot more, these huge student houses with big basements, and pretty much every weekend some student house would be having a party.
Right.
And I used to make these tapes with the pause.
You had to pause, change it. I didn't do that shit.
And I was really quiet and not that cool, but I had a friend, Maria, who was very cool and not quiet. And we'd go to these parties, and they didn't have DJ set up, so they'd have a big ghetto blaster.
Right, and you just put the tapes in.
And she'd be like, give me a tape, give me a tape. And she'd eject someone else's tape.
And throw your shit in. Right.
And then eventually yours does get ejected. But I'd stand in the corner and I'd watch people's reactions to my sort of they weren't transitions, but my
your
programming.
Playlist, or your programming, right.
And then when it got ejected, I'd try and analyze, well, why then? Why did they lose their,
Ooh, I love this.
So I think that's actually just as important side of DJing as the technical skills.
Yeah, what you were doing was the analytics behind your work.
Yeah.
So you was programming, and then your tape would go in, and you just sat back and watch.
Yeah.
And the songs
and she'd
that
be
were
dancing
dope.
and being the hype woman.
Right.
She'd been to New York already, so she was super cool, and she'd come back.
Oh, she had been to New York already?
Yeah, her brother was living in Philly, and she went out and she said, I just came back from New York, and everyone thought,
so she had that shit with her.
Yeah,
so
she
was
had
lit.
that, and she's
Where's she now?
She's in London.
Okay, tell us what up.
Yeah, there's a funny story about her too, actually. If I had time.
You want to share?
Okay, well, very briefly.
Yes.
So we lost complete contact, and then so I hadn't seen her since probably like 88. And then in 2013, I went to a friend of mine. I was staying with a friend of mine in London, and she said, we're going to this gallery opening, and they had another friend at this gallery opening. And across the room at the gallery, I was looking at this woman going, that looks like Maria. Could it be Maria? And for the whole time that I'd known this other friend of mine, Pippa, she talked about this woman, Dr. Maria, because Maria became a doctor.
Right.
And I never I would have
put
no
two
reason to
together.
think
Why
that it would
would
be
you think
my
that?
Dr.
Right.
Maria from 88. And I saw this woman across the thing, and I was like to my friend, is her name Maria? And she said, yeah. And I said, she goes to medical, is she a doctor? She said, yeah. And then I went up to her and was like, Maria, and she's like, ah. So we had a great time reminiscing, and I knew her brother quite well, so she was calling him.
That's
Peter.
awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny. So from 88, like it was, and the funny thing is, when my friend had her 50th, She'd been, I was DJing and she'd been in the same room and we still didn't.
Wow. So you had DJed
In a room where
in
she,
the room where this girl that when y'all were younger,
Yeah.
she was putting your tapes in the shit, and she did,
Yeah.
and you guys never realized.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Wow.
now I see her all that. I just stayed with her when I was in England, so
Uh-huh.
it was kind of it's kind of fun because it's when you have a good vibe with someone, they don't change that much.
Right.
I
say
mean,
that
some
all the
people
time.
do. I don't think most people do. If you had an affinity with somebody,
Yeah.
there's something there still.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I say that all the
So-
time. Like I have dear friends that if I could not talk to them for like 4 years,
Yeah.
and we can just pick up right where we
That's
left off.
like most
But
of my
it
friends in
requires both parties to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And if that doesn't change,
Yeah.
then nothing changes.
Yeah.
You know. So, 88, you at the
Okay.
basement parties.
Basement parties.
Dr. Marie's putting
then
your
I went
tapes
to
in, your shit is
Australia.
hitting. So now you're
Oh,
in
well,
Australia.
actually, before I went to Australia, I did do a couple of. I think her brother got engaged, and she was like, DJ his party, and I still couldn't really DJ, but I do remember it was those old consoles that they used to have, where it's everything's like all in one.
Right.
And I was probably just sort of, you know,
Right.
fading one in and out.
Right,
But I
just fading in and
sort of started, and then I played one more time for someone else's party. Then I went to Australia. Then when I came back, I moved to the south coast, a place called Brighton, which is an hour from London.
Right.
That's quite, like a lot of the artists we were talking about who travel, a lot of them have played in Brighton because it's so close to London. It's a bit like if you came from overseas and did New York, you might do Philly or DC. Or,
Right.
you
It's
know,
like
'cause
that
they're
close.
easy.
Right. Easy run.
So I remember I knew a couple of people, not that many, but I remember they used to have the magazines then and tell you what clubs were on and what things were on. And I read one and it said, because at the time Brighton was very rave music.
Right.
It was either really, really hippie with sort of, I don't know, kind of worldy folk music people with a bit of reggae, or very, very kind of hardcore, we're dropping E's and we're doing illegal parties on the beach. And so I didn't really fit into that, and this person had put,
You wasn't dropping these?
no, I was smoking, I mean, probably the only thing I did really smoke weed. I'm not a big drug,
Yeah, me neither.
weed and alcohol, but I mean, I tried a few things, but no, I've never had an E, I have
Right.
to say, I've never had an E. And this ad said something about strictly no house music, and it was called The Soul something, and I was like, ooh, and I went down there, and I don't know why the promoter came up to me, because it was small and people, I think it was new, and he was being a good host. And he said, oh, you know, nice to see you, because I went on my own, and that was weird too, that I just like, I'm going. And he said, why did you come down? I said, because I'm a DJ, and I found it, I even surprised myself.
When you
because-
said it,
Yeah.
she's like, oh shit, I
was
said
like,
it.
Did I say that?
Right.
And at the time, the guy who became my DJ partner for quite a while, Rob, was playing Gangstar Words I Manifest into EPMD The Big Payback. And I suddenly went, like, what is this? Because it worked more with the 70s. I love the 80s now, but at the time I was so 70s orientated that I got the connection with the 90s, the late 80s, early 90s stuff more, in a sense. And then he helped me. He was just one of those guys who was really nice, and you know, not all guys then would sort of be like, you shouldn't be in the DJ booth. But he was a very open, creative soul and made space for me to play with him and would teach me things. So that really helped me. And then I surprisingly landed this Friday night in a club, and I couldn't mix to save my life. And I was like, I have to learn, otherwise I'll never keep them.
What year is this?
1990, I think it was.
Right, Words I Manifest came out like, yeah, that's
I think
like
89 it came
yeah,
out. So by the time I got this gig, and I
okay.
still didn't have that many skills, was about 6 months later.
Right.
I was like, I have to learn, because I can't keep people on the dance floor if the music's gonna fade out.
Right.
So I just had a couple of people come around to my house who could DJ well. Rob was one of them. This other guy who was more house, but he was a good mixer. And I just kind of try and watch them, and then I practice and practice.
Where did
So-
the name come from? When did you choose your
Oh,
name? What did you have
That
another
was when
DJ
I moved
name?
to London. We were just called Trish and Rob at one
Trish
point,
and Rob.
so-
That was wild for me.
It wasn't very. It
Trish
wasn't
and
very
Rob on the
DJ
DJ
Trish,
set.
I think it was. So it wasn't very. And everyone kept saying you have to have a name, and I couldn't think of one. And then I moved up to London, and my roommate's girlfriend just said DJ Misbehaviour, and I really liked it, but I deliberately spelt it without, not like an M-I-S.
Did she have a problem with you rooming with her boyfriend?
No.
Okay.
No, they've been together since like they were 16.
Right. They didn't care. at this
No.
point. It was like,
No, we actually knew each other in Brighton at the same time, decided we wanted to move to London because there wasn't enough opportunity in Brighton for me. And people were saying, you know, if you want to get on, you've got to go to London. Other DJs coming into the party we did and stuff, you've got to go to London, you've got to go to London. So he at the time said, I want to move to London. And I don't know why, I can't remember why she didn't. I mean, she'd stay over a lot, but no, she didn't mind.
so she's the one that came up with DJ
Yes.
Misbehaviour. And you liked
And
it.
I liked it, but when I saw it in my head, it wasn't as everyone kept misspelling MISS, and
Right.
then it was just the whole word in one.
One thing.
Because I didn't
Misbehaviour.
want to be deliberately a female name at that point. I didn't actually want to be like, yay, I'm a woman. I just wanted to be included without it feeling like a novelty, you know. So I deliberately spelt it like that. Even though I had a couple of promoters say, no, you shouldn't spell it like that. I was so, it made, some things I would cave because I wasn't that confident, but there were certain things where I was like, no, that's what I'm doing, and I don't care what you think. Then I was like, yes, I have a name.
The crowds in the early 90s that you were spinning for, were they diverse? Were they mostly white? Were they mostly black?
I'd say so when I went up to London, the first real break I had, that was a black night.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't say there weren't any white people in it, but it would be seen as a night playing black music for an
Were you
authentic.
considered a novelty, a white woman DJing
I was-
hip-hop?
Well,
You're tall,
London's not
you're
so
cool.
segregated. I mean, it is segregated. That's a lot. Well, I feel New York's much more segregated with different races and cultures in different places
Agreed.
because it's bigger. You
Right.
can do that.
But also, America is rooted in race.
Yes.
So everything in America, every industry in America is, the paradigm of every industry is rooted in race.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the case necessarily.
Well, I think it's probably a bit of both. I was white and female, but there were the first. So this was a club called Fresh and Funky, and they had been going for quite a few years in one venue, and they decided they wanted to move to a bigger venue. And I happened to be playing, I can't even remember what it was, but I ended up playing for this night, and the promoter came down, because in those days people would give out flyers. There was no social media, so
Fact.
you'd be going around giving your flyers
Yeah.
out. So the promoter, DJ, the main guy, was there, and he was giving out flyers, and he said, I don't have an opener, do you want to open? And it actually became the biggest night in London for a long time. I mean, it was a Wednesday night. He was pulling about 600 people through the door. It was 3 floors, so at the ground floor I opened, and that was hip hop and R&B. Then the second floor was like 80s soul funk, and then the top floor they had a band and they had live music. And when artists would come through from America, sometimes they'd end up going upstairs, doing a little kind of thing on a mic. So, I mean, by the time they moved to their next venue, everyone was going through there, like Jay-Z, Puffy, the whole.
Who's
you
the
know.
first rap star you met?
First rap star I met was, good question. I think, met as in really talked to.
Met as in,
Hi.
what's up? I'm Patricia. They call me DJ Misbehaviour.
I think it might have been Primo. Was
That's a good
definitely
one.
at one point Mad Skills, or Skills as
Mad
he is
Skills,
now known. Oh God, let me think about the early ones. Yeah, I think it was like one person who was coming through quite a lot at one point, doing a lot of gigs, was J. Rue. And Primo was coming with him and another guy. And then, God, it's so funny you asked that, and now I've gone blank. I remember Mad Skills was really cool. That's one thing I do remember about him. OC.
OC.
I mean, Jay-Z used to come and go to the VIP, but at that point, was I here by that time? I can't remember. The night we did was a bit like Cheetah on a Monday. If you ever
Like
went to Cheetah on a Monday, that's how I felt.
It's funny because you're naming artists that have had underground success here in America.
Yeah.
OC, underground success. Mad Skills, underground. J. Rule, underground. I mean, he did have Come Clean, which was a mainstream hit, but most of these cats were like grinders in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you not spoke
Master
about
Ace too.
Master Ace, another grinder in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so London and the UK was a way to leverage that. And it goes back to what we were saying, how that added longevity to the careers of a lot of hip hop artists here because of the love and the particular type of love that music lovers have in the UK.
I mean, fans are really like, they're very loyal, I think.
Right.
I mean, last time I went home, not this time, the time before, I went to Cypress Hill and Ice Cube. And I don't know what they would pull here, but I think the capacity of this venue was 20,000.
They had 20,000. I mean, yeah, they
it wasn't
pull,
full.
Like Ice Cube and them would pull like.
Do you think?
It
Maybe?
depends on where.
Yeah.
But they could. There's certain places where they could pull 20.
It was pretty. It was cool. It was nice to see that many hip hop, die hard. I mean, I could imagine in New York, you know. But it was.
I don't think they. I don't know if they could pull 20K in New York. Not well, Ice Cube could. Not Cypress Hills by themselves.
No.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? When did you come to America and why?
Well, first time I came to New York was 94.
Right.
For the music seminar, was it called the New Music Seminar? It was the one that Tommy Boy, the guy who owns Tommy Boy, whose name is escaping me, he had a seminar called the New Music Seminar, and I volunteered for, I think, 2 weeks in this office to get a pass to go to all the events. And that was the year that was 94, so that was a pretty cool year because Illmatic came out. Once I got to, I mean, the volunteering was kind of fun because there was all these younger cats there who'd sit at the back with playing their music, and there was some new people coming up like Mike Geronimo and Royal Flush, and people that I guess were the next wave in New York in that time was sort of surfacing.
Shout out to Royal Flush, that's a friend of the show.
Ah, cool.
He said there before.
And then when the actual seminar, you know, I went to see Nas. Who else had an album out? Big-ish album. Well, actually, running around the whole seminar was the street team for Bad Boy, and they had banners with Craig Mack on one
that
side,
was the year,
and
Big
Biggie on the other. One of the best shows I still think I've been to was one. It was called the Melting Pot, but I'm not sure if it was the club or the venue. But it was KRS-One was headlining, the Fugees after him when they were still sort of guitar and kind of less, you know, they weren't known so well. Who else? PMD, Scratch. And I'd never seen Scratch before, and his routine really impressed me. I was like, wow. Das Effects. And the club was tiny and it was absolutely ram-packed, and that was really fun. I went to the tunnel. That was pretty fun.
God bless you.
Because
you made it out alive.
Yeah, I went with people. Yeah. Because I knew a guy. I'd met a guy in London in the club, and he was like, "You remind me of when you play. You remind me of New York." And he said, well, "If you come out, just let me know because I go to all these things." So I had him and his friend. I was always kind of traveling around with them. But I went to the tunnel. It was kind of cool to see the night. That was that one time that the hype on the floor was the stuff now that we're talking about. It was like Smith & Wesson and Black Moon and Ilal Scratch was number one, and that was the stuff that got everyone hyped at the prime time, which is kind of a nice thing to have been able to see. And then
let me ask you something. What was it about hip hop? Because your whole time we're talking about soul, we're talking about funk, we're talking about two-tone, we're talking about rock, British rock.
Right.
What was it that about hip hop that made you feel comfortable centering in it?
Because I think the 70s, what the people were singing about is not that different from what rappers were rapping about. If they were authentic, like at that time, when I remember when it was, the word real really meant something, and if someone was faking it, it meant something because the community was kind of tight. Now, I mean, it doesn't mean, it
Doesn't
means
mean nothing.
absolutely
Nothing means
nothing. But then people wanted to, people wanted to have the best lyrics and and talk about stuff and be, it was honest, or for the most part. And I think when you listen to, Marvin Gaye or Kurt, I don't think it's that different.
Gotcha.
I mean, you could almost say that the bottle Gil Scott Heron could be a rap in a certain
Track, facts. Oscar Brown Jr., you could say
Yeah.
Oscar Brown was a rapper.
Yeah. So I think there was that. I like the reality of it. And then I was like, I have to come over because I want to know about the streets they're talking about. Like, when I moved to Brooklyn and I knew where Gates and Green was, I was like,
That's the
yay.
block. When Chubb Rock said that, that's
Yeah.
my block.
Oh, it is?
You've been to my block party, right? You didn't come to my block. So my block, I'm on Green and St. James. On the corner. So when he said
not
kids
that
on
far
St.
from
James
me,
between
then.
Gates and Green,
Yeah.
that hit
Yeah,
for
that's
us, right?
funny. Yeah.
Even though he wasn't from there, he had a girlfriend that lived on the block. Chubb Rock wasn't from the block. He had a
wasn't.
girl. His girlfriend
Okay.
is from the block. So when you came to Brooklyn, where did you move to?
Fort Greene.
Where?
The first place, well, when I very first came back, I came back in 99. I was going to come for a year and I'm still here. I lived in Tribeca for 3 months because I got a sublet, I got a hookup. And that was actually, Tribeca was kind of fun then. You had Knitting Factory, you had wetlands. There was some cool, I remember around the corner from me, I was on Walker Street between Church and Broadway.
So you wasn't far from where Spinner does his Thursday thing.
Exactly. I
Right.
was literally 2 blocks
Right.
the other way. And there was stuff around there. And for being new to the city, I mean, you cross the road, you're in Soho, you go that way, you're Chinatown. Your East Village is around the corner, Lower East Side. It was like a lot of places I could walk to. So I kind of liked it. Then I moved I lived on Decal between Vanderbilt and
That's the hood.
Vanderbilt and
Claremont. So you lived
about
on
Miss Ellie's supermarket.
You lived right up the block from 2 Steps Down.
Yes. Yeah. Same block. Next
Same
door
block,
to. I
yes.
was next door to.
Right.
2
You
Steps
lived
Down.
right above the supermarket. Yeah.
So when I remember once I came back from England, I was really jet lagged, and Spinner was playing at 2 Steps Down. I wanted to go. I was so tired. I just opened my window and
just listen to the music.
I was
Right.
like, you did a good set.
Right.
Because they had a backyard then. They used to.
Well, now, yeah. So they did
It's
have a
more
backyard.
enclosed now.
It's enclosed.
Yes.
Hawaii Mike,
Yes,
you know
yes.
Mike.
Yeah, I've done that.
Shout to
a couple
Mike.
of
I
times.
saw him yesterday. He's creating something,
Yes,
a
I like
kind
it.
of new iteration of it, which is awesome, and we support that.
Yes.
Who's your favorite American DJ?
Damn. I really hate when people ask me those.
Good.
those
That's the
ones.
shit I'm talking about. I'm trying to give you shit.
Go borough by borough.
Well, I think
Go right. Let's go borough by borough. Who's your favorite Brooklyn DJ?
my favorite Brooklyn DJ is me. No. Oh God. Well, I love Spinner. Who else? I don't know if he's. Well, actually, I do like DJ Ace. Do you know Ace?
I do know Ace.
And he lives 2 blocks
cop?
from me.
He used to be a cop.
Did he?
Short Ace.
No, it's
okay.
another tall Ace. He's
Okay.
really, really nice with 45s. Beat Miners.
Of course. Shout out to Will. Mr.
I just
Wall,
played
you
with
did.
them last Saturday.
You played at Fly Private Society recently, right?
Yes.
Yes.
For Smith and Wesson.
For Smith and-
Still. Well, it was
That's what I'm
Steel's
thinking. For
release.
still release, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess I've always been a fan of Dee and Walt, and I used to really like Walt's sets at Bar 16. I used to go to Bar 16 in the East Village.
Let me ask you this. At what point did the craft of DJing become lucrative enough where you didn't have to work for a living?
Stably, recently, to be honest.
Stably?
Yeah. Not for that long.
Post-pandemic?
Post-pandemic, for some reason, it really changed. I think it has a lot to do with attitude, because I always did side hustles. And I do remember hearing an interview, and I can't remember what artist it was, said if you have side hustles, you won't make the money. You know, if you think you should fall back on something, you're not going to be focused enough. And I think I always had an issue with focus. But probably in the last, Mobile Mondays, which was the party that I sort of joined the collective of in 2012, really helped. Shout out to Operator M's. We did things at Summer Stage, and that really helped me. And it also put me in a pool with lots of other artists, and I think your energy changes. For a while, I don't know what happened really. For a while, I was sort of treading these very same paths. And then going into that, I got to meet a whole load of other people. Like when it comes to sort of underground, I really like Large Pro for his style, especially when you're, for that real underground producer style of DJing. I think he's really good. And there's another guy that I always forget the name. But we had so many people come through there. I think Jazzy J is a great DJ. Obviously Jazzy Jeff. But yeah, it's really hard. It's I tend to view, it's funny, I'm less of a fan. I am a fan, but I tend to be a studier. Like, what are they doing to either learn from it or compare to myself, or to not bite but get influence from.
Right.
And whose style do I like? And certain reggae DJs. I think of all the people that I play with. Kenny Parker I love playing with. Operator M's, Boogie Blind is really fun to play with.
100%.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's hard to,
While you were working and doing your side hustle, what was the worst job you had here while you were chasing your dream? The job that you was like, oh, I fucking hate this shit.
Actually, to be honest, the ones I was like, oh, I fucking hate this shit was those bar gig 6-hour things that weren't that creative.
DJing for 6 hours is fucking hell.
A lot of people did it. I think DJing for 6 hours, if you have a big crowd and they follow you and they're coming every week and there's a sort of vibe. But sometimes I'd just land, someone would say, oh, someone's opened this place, and you kind of need the money and you're hustling, so you take the gig and you've either got the wrong crowd or you can't get enough people in, because I was never that good at promoting. I like to show up to things where the crowd is right for me and the promoter knows it, and then I just do what I do.
So I've worked in the restaurant and nightlife industry for years. I've promoted parties for years, and I try to teach people, because like bar owners, right, or people who manage bars and restaurants and they want talent, they'll call me and they say, well, listen, I need a DJ. And I'll be like, well, what are the hours you want this person to DJ? And they'll say, oh, I need them to DJ from 9 to 2. And I'm like, no, that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is get your guy to come in and do 2 hours. And then what you want to do is get a neighborhood DJ or somebody that's on the come up that you don't have to pay a lot of money to come do the other 2 hours or 3 hours, right? Because you kill two birds with one stone. You get the name recognition of whoever you have headlining, but then you also give an up and coming person the opportunity to rock. And that person is going to be happy you gave them the opportunity, so they're going to call all their friends like, yo, I'm rocking at this spot tonight. So owners and managers and people and promoters and people who do this work, if they don't understand
Yeah.
right? Then they make those
They don't have a
mistakes. You
clue.
should never hire a DJ for 6 hours. That's crazy. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear you for 6 hours.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
And the ones I didn't, I mean, one I kind of liked a bit at first, but then it became this, we're booking tables. And then I remember one day I get there and, you know, the manageress she comes up and she brings this young girl who's having her, we call it hen night in England. What do you call it? Bachelorette party.
Hen night,
And
that's what you guys call
this
it.
is our resident DJ. She'll look after you. And I'm like, so, you know, I have this 20-something girl who I don't know the music, you know, then I'm like, oh, that's stressful now, because now this expectation that I'm going to be this bachelorette party DJ, when really I don't want to play any of that music. Those kind of ones are horrible, and you're stuck for 6 hours, and you're like, get me out of here, but you can't. I think the only time I would ever do 6 hours again is if the money, like you say, the money was really good. You'd then say, I'm going to bring in someone. I'll either do it with somebody in tag team, we'll have a great time, or I'll bring in an opener and I'll do 3 hours, you know. But no, I mean, it's a long, I know some places where they want people for 7 hours.
That's
I'm
crazy.
like, Jesus,
that's
a whole
ridiculous.
day.
And anytime someone calls me with that bullshit, I tell them, I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to call any of my DJ friends and tell them you want them for 7 hours.
You won't get the best out of somebody.
You won't. They're gonna be tired. Like, I'm tired. I can't tell you the last time I was in a party for more than 2 or 3 hours.
No,
I don't
me too. My
stay in
attention
parties
span, no,
that
me
long
neither.
now. You know what I'm saying? I go in, well, I'm different anyway, because I'm like if I'm somewhere, it's like business related at this point. Like, I don't go out to just party anymore. But even that, there's a time limit on it.
No,
you know what I'm saying? And I think maybe that's age, because, you know, I'm of a certain age, but also it's attention span. Like, you know, I don't have the freedom of listening to you for 6 hours about anything.
Yeah, I think it's both. It's probably age. I think it's comfort. Like, I remember, did you ever go to Output in Williamsburg?
Yes.
So if I ever went to something at the rooftop and I got there early enough to snag one of those massive beds, I could stay there.
I stayed all day, right? I could lay out.
And someone gave me drinks tickets.
Right.
But if I go to something like a show and I have to stand, and then, you know, you get there too early. SOBs always used to kill me like that. You get there early and they'd be like, come on. And you're standing, and then they come on. And by that time I'm like, you know, so I think if I'm comfortable, but also we've seen so many that it's almost harder to get not inspired, but it's harder to get excited about it, because I'm not 20 anymore. It's not, you know, first few times I moved to London and I'm clubbing and it's mad exciting. Now you're sort of, you know. But I like going to shows. I like to go and see younger artists. I get way more energy going to see
Who's
younger
your favorite
artists.
young artist?
I mean, they're not that young, but comparative to me, I'd say I like Anderson .Paak.
Love Anderson.
I love Mac Miller.
I have not gotten into Mac Miller.
I went to see Masego at Summer Stage.
I heard that was good. I heard that was good. Yeah,
I think he's really good. And I remember at Summer Stage once I went to see Joey Badass, and that was fun because the crowd just have this energy. We were just sort of in the VIP, but watching
Joey
it. But you get
Joey's
the energy.
Joey's a really classic guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's a really old Brooklyn soul.
So I like to sit because they're jumping up and down. Water bottles are flying in the air. And
you ever heard of Chef G?
No.
I love Chef G.
Okay, I should check him. Is that like chef?
Chef,
like chef
SHEFF.
Oh,
G.
Okay.
Drill rapper, amazing. What are you doing now? Give us some before we go. Give us some stuff. What are we doing?
Okay, so summer we do quite so. The party I'm involved with, Vinyl Nights, we do quite a lot of outside events. So I am doing, not this Thursday, the following Thursday, whatever that date is, Albee Square. 15th. Is that the 15th? 15th at Albee Square with DJ Ace, not the cop.
Not the cop.
But the other one.
Shout to DJ Ace, the cop.
And shout to my DJ Ace, who's really ill on the 45, so that's going to be exciting. And then the 29th at Albee Square, 5 till 8. Right now, where they've made that kind of area with the little.
I know what you're talking about.
That's on the 29th with Operator M's. from Mobile Mondays, and then on then I'm playing in the Bronx for. Damn, I feel terrible now.
That's all right, because we're sorry to hear that you're playing in the Bronx.
I've never played it. Well, I have played at the Bronx Museum, but I've never done a Bronx. This is a sort of Bronx block party, which actually is 6 hours.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, should I pull someone in, or should I just like?
Good luck in
bite the
finding somebody to
bullet?
go to the Bronx with you.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
No, it's one of Boogie Blind's friends, Biz.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be nice. So there's the Bronx Sunday the 25th. Then we're doing the new roller skating Xanadu coming up in September. I think the best thing really is I always post on Instagram. So.
Yeah. I did a New Year's Eve party with Blind going into 2015. So New Year's Eve 2014 going into the. When I tell you he rocked the fucking crowd, like he's one of the most underrated.
Yeah.
The man is.
Well, he's got
amazing.
the skill set of a party DJ, but he's also got the skill set of a stage show
Right,
DJ.
exactly. Right, exactly.
And does both well.
And he's come up under legend. So
Yeah.
he's been a student and
Yeah.
and now he's a master because of that.
Yeah.
It was cool talking with you.
Yeah.
This is the most we spoke. What's up? Say it again?
Oh, you want to talk about the viral moment?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The viral moment, yeah. Museum of the City of New York. They have a block. Well, it's actually both museums. That Museo del Barrio.
Yeah, I know
My
Museo del
Spanish
Barrio.
is terrible, but they have a block party. The two museums on 5th, and we were doing one. And it was the 90s, and I was doing it with another DJ from Mobile Mondays called Joey Carvello, and Joey is very much more dance music. And I remember he was playing first, and then people kept I knew someone from Harlem, and he was like, everyone's just worried there's not going to be any hip hop. It's like, are you going to play some hip hop? And I was like, yes. There's a reason there's me and Joey and and we were doing vinyl, so I bought all hip hop because I knew Joe and R&B, not just hip hop.
Right.
And I had a very unflattering dress on because it had shrunk, and I was late, and I was like, it will stretch.
Right.
And this
It did
guy
stretch.
shot me from the side at this angle, which is equally not very
Oh
flattering.
Lord.
And
Tell
I
me what he
didn't know he was filming me, but basically that era the set that I did, I was doing in the late 80s, 90s. So it just was like a no-brainer
for you.
for me.
Right.
Because I was just going back to then. I had some of the routines I'd done years and years and years. So but I think because I guess what I was wearing looked a bit like, this woman interviewed me and she said, you look like you were going to market.
Like a prostitute.
No, like you're
Like
going
the
to the
meat market.
farmer's market.
Oh,
So
I'm thinking
she
you're
said,
talking
you
about
look
the
like
meat
you're going to market, and then you're pulling all this records out that people were sort of like, whoa, because the crowd that come to that Uptown Backs are a really great crowd, and a lot of them are that Uptown Harlem, and they rock. And that 90s niche that I had was sort of just gelled with their era. So they're all going crazy because they weren't expecting me to do that. He's filming it. And then he posted on Facebook, he just put "Don't judge a book by its cover" and didn't say anything else. So the good thing was, I think people clicked on it out of curiosity. The bad thing was he didn't know who I was. Well, not bad thing, but I didn't get...
You didn't get credit.
No. So although it eventually ended up with 27 million views...
Shit. Have I seen this? Have you seen this?
Picture?
You've seen the picture?
It was too. That's why
Everybody
I
was
was like,
surrounding her like,
It was 27 million views, though, of people
Why haven't I
going,
seen
who's
that?
that funny? Who's Martha Stewart? What's Martha
Martha
Stewart?
Stewart
Oh,
on
no,
the
they were
news.
calling me Martha
the
Stewart. One of them
top.
was saying, what's Grandma up to? And, is it a teacher at a school?
Get the fuck out of here.
But some people in the comments were saying things like, oh no, that's DJ Misbehaviour. But I woke up the next morning and my friend in England was calling me going, "You've gone viral." Because her son's an artist, and he'd said, "Mum, Auntie Trish has gone viral." And I had like 1 million. And then I went to my friend's house because I was a bit sort of like deer in the headlights, and I went to visit my friend in Jersey. We'd already planned to all hook up. And we were all sitting in the backyard, and we just kept refreshing the Facebook thing. And it suddenly, like, my friend was going, now it's 10 million. I'm like, what? And I felt completely overwhelmed. I have to say, it was freakishly weird, you know, and it just kept climbing. And then I really wanted, the one thing I did want to do is go on Martha Stewart though, but we couldn't. And I had a friend who knew someone, they tried to hook it up. Because I think that would have been kind of cool of me, Martha and Snoop.
That would have been fucking cool as shit.
We gotta
make that
the
happen.
call I got was Steve Harvey, and it was all wrong for me.
Yeah.
No disrespect to them, but I think because World Star Hip Hop shared it, they share things that are comical to them. So Steve Harvey, producer, called me and said, "We'd like to." The assistant called me and said, "We'd like to have a chat with our producer. She's interested. You know, they're interested. She'll call you in an hour." And I was like, "Ooh, you know what? What are they?" And she said. Oh, and then 5 minutes before the call, the assistant called back and said, "Oh yeah, we just want you to tell us 3 things about you that are funny." And I was like, "Well, I'm not." And I called my friend.
I'm not funny.
I called my oldest friend and said, "What? They've just said that." And she said, "Well, you're not." She said, "You can be funny in context, like if we're hanging out, but you're not funny."
Right.
So I feel like they missed the point because it may have looked funny, but the knowledge that I had,
they was trying to play
wasn't
you.
funny.
Nah,
So
you thought you was right.
The producer was really nice.
Yeah,
so
but
I
they do be
him.
nice, and then you come out there and then Steve talks some crazy shit.
Yeah.
White girl DJ, like that's the shit they were on with you. So I'm glad that.
But I thought I did think at the time I would have liked to maybe done Ellen because she always has a DJ who plays stuff, or number one would have been Martha Stewart. People kept saying, dope. "What's Martha Stewart?" You know, they kept referencing it for a joke.
Tying it in. I don't remember that shit. I gotta see that shit. Well, I never. You saw it, Kai?
No, I don't remember it. Daniel remembers it.
And then he then said he tried to tag me, but once something's gone like that, it's gone. You can't
reel it in. I mean, you could reshare it.
Oh, I reshare it.
I've gone viral before. You're not the only one.
Yeah. Did you get 27 million?
I don't know if we ever got 27 million, but never 27 million. I would be on Martha Stewart's show. Facts. 27 million.
I think we should try and
we should try to revitalize. I'm gonna do a party. I'm gonna have you come. We're gonna reenact that shit.
Yes,
we're gonna revitalize that shit.
Dress.
Yeah, we're gonna revitalize that shit. I thought you was gonna say it was a wardrobe malfunction because you said the dress was too short. So I was waiting for you to say that they had.
I think it was just that I just didn't look like someone who would be doing what I was doing.
Right.
And the crowd were really happy because they'd all shown up and started to think, well, who's going to play hip hop? Yeah.
It's on your IG?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll find it.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah, I'll find it.
So I think people were like, well, she's not going to play that kind of hip hop, looking at her. And then I'm doing my sort of, you know, brand new view.
You're fucking
black
killing them.
sheep,
Right, you're killing
them. You know, all that shit.
Right.
And so they're like, yay. And the guy that I know from Harlem was like, no, I'm telling them because he knew me.
Right.
He was like, no, I keep telling them that you're gonna, you know, you're good. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Word? Is that her in the fuchsia dress?
Yes.
Yeah. You definitely look like you're going to market.
You're going to market.
Well, this woman, I think she's down in Atlanta. No, where is she? One of the first people who hit me up on Facebook, her name's Angel. She has a show. She said, "Can I interview you?" And I said yes. And it was the first one.
Right.
And that's what she said. She said, "You look like you were going to market on a Saturday afternoon." So yeah, and then I went on Hot 97, and what was the other thing? That was on Ebro and Sway, Sway in the morning. That was fun.
So you got to do a bit of a press run because of that. Well, that's good. That's good. What we got on the thing? Any
A
questions?
Style Quest. Shout out to Style Quest. He wants to know if you could relive a certain year musically, which one would it be and why?
Oh God. I hate these questions.
It would be the 70s.
Yeah, I think it would probably be the early 70s. Because I was really discovering certain albums. I think Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, I loved that album. Was it 72? Was that Rastaman Vibrations was another one, another Bob Marley one that I rinsed. If it wasn't the 70s, I'd have to say maybe 94, because when I came out to New York, I thought that was such a great year.
94 was an amazing year.
And I was there in experiencing certain parts of it through the seminar, so that was pretty special. I'd say yes, either sort of maybe very early in the 70s or 94.
Dope.
Although there's tons of other years, like it's really hard to, but maybe for me.
That's a good question. I think for me it would probably be 70s, late 70s. Like it was just a plethora of funk, disco, reggae.
Yes, there was
like
actually,
everything was moving. 70s, early 80s.
Actually,
right?
you know, some people
Like the
say
shit
that
I was
the
a kid.
beginning of a decade is always really good. I don't
Right.
know if that's true, but that would apply, definitely maybe apply to the 90s and the early 2000s, because I enjoyed clubbing in the early 2000s.
What did you think about that Drake Kendrick beat?
I didn't really pay much attention to it, if I'm going to be seriously honest.
Good answer. We too old for that shit.
To be honest, if it's not a track I think, yo, that's so dope, I want to play it.
Do you like Drake? Do you play Drake music?
I play Drake to certain audiences when I'm put in front. Like if I'm doing more of a corporate thing or a wedding, I'll play anything if I'm doing a private event.
Gotcha.
I'm not snobby. I actually do a bar at the weekend that I don't really post because it's pop music, and they like Drake. I feel like sometimes these artists just put way too much out. So, and I kind of liked his earlier stuff when it felt a bit more hip hop. It was a bit, you know, like the Motto, that kind of era. You know, I don't really knock anyone, because to be where they be, they have to work hard. I mean, it just doesn't all fall, you know. But I mean, I just remember seeing this YouTube thing where Mos Def's saying it's mall music. It was just funny the way he was saying it, because he made me laugh when he was saying it. You know, he's not in my top 10, but I don't hate him.
Before we go, give me your top 5 rappers of all time. Start at number 5 and work your way to number 1. Come on now.
Okay, I think
you know you're gonna
Guru.
get these questions. Guru is number 5. I love that.
Well, I don't know if he's number 5, but he's up in there.
You got to start from number 5. So think about your list and then start from number 5. And then work up.
Well, I mean, can we have duos? Because I love Brand Nubian. Could we not do Cruise instead? Gangstar, Brand Nubian.
You want to hear mine? I'm gonna give you mine, and you.
Okay, yes, that might.
So for me, number 5 is Q-Tip.
Right.
That's just a really personal choice.
Right.
Q-Tip was my coming of age kind of reflection. When I started wanting to rhyme, I started wanting to be Q-Tip first, right? Because of how he was, how he presented. Number 4 is Biggie Smalls. A lot of people have him higher up. I don't, because of he doesn't have the catalog, right? Number 3 is Jay. Number 2 is Nas. Number 1 is Tupac. And I choose Tupac because Tupac to me epitomizes the American rapper better than pretty much anyone else. And you could flip Jay and Nas. Jay and Nas could be 2 and 3. Jay could be 2, Nas could be 3. It's fine. But neither of them, even in their decades of work, epitomize the Black American male rapper more than Tupac. Tupac is he was viscerally, he's our James Dean. Like
Right.
he was
I
so
see what-
good at it that he could not stay around a long time.
Right. I wouldn't have had him in there, but I totally hear you. I would have Biggie, and I would have Nas, and I'd probably have Jay, because what I think I like about him is however big he's got and however rich he's got, he pretty much has just stayed a rapper. I mean, yes, he's an entrepreneur, but it's not suddenly like, oh, I'm going to be in movies, and now I'm going to,
Right, he didn't want to be a star,
catwalk
like
model,
I'm a Hollywood star.
he just sort of went, okay, I'm a businessman and I'm a rapper, and those are the things that, and I kind of like that about him.
Yeah, I like that about Jay too. I think Jay where I said Tupac epitomizes the Black American rapper, I think Jay epitomizes that transition that happened when rappers became entrepreneurs.
Yes.
No one has done it better than Jay-Z.
No.
Like Jay-Z is the archetype of the Black American rapper turned entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a fucking billionaire, right? So
Yeah.
he obviously did it the right way. But again, from a lyricist standpoint, Nas and Jay is interchangeable to me. They're both 30 years in. They both have amazing catalogs. They both speak to a part of me that grew up in New York. So they go back and forth. I just think that Biggie, is very difficult for me to put Biggie ahead of any of them,
Well, he hasn't had
because
enough.
he had 2 albums.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Jay has like 14 albums. Nas has like 12, 13 albums, right? Like,
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if we're going
Okay.
further back, Rakim
Yeah.
and Kane, I love.
Yeah.
I like Kane a lot, particularly because I still think he's great live. I like to see. He's got a very youthful energy.
Kane is
still.
amazing live.
He can still do the
Yeah,
splits,
he's
come back
amazing
up
live.
again.
Here's
Yeah.
why I don't consider them in my top 5, and then we'll go. But I don't consider them in my top 5 because of longevity.
Right.
Kane's career was an amazing career that lasted less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Rakim's career, amazing career, lasted less than 15 years.
Yeah.
When you compare them to
Yes.
a Jay or a Nas, it's incomparable.
I know we're forgetting how long.
Right, Jay
Yeah.
and Nas are 30 years in the game.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Longer for Jay, right? Maybe 35 years of providing music
Yeah.
through the avenue of hip hop. So I mean, as great as Rakim is, we gotta, for me, my criteria includes like length of service, like it's almost like athleticism. You could be a great basketball player for 4 years, but you're not LeBron. LeBron has played at a high level for 20 years, right? And so that's kind of how I
And
look
I think
at
it's
it.
consistent. Like there'll be certain songs, and I friggin' love them, but whether there's 100 of those from that one artist again is you know. But then there'll be some that I'll be just like, that's, you know. Like I love some of Pharoah Monch. I love some of Organized Confusion, Outcast. They're sort of different. I mean, Aquemini was one of my favorite albums of the time
Aquemini's
when
one
that
of the
came out.
best group albums of all time.
I mean,
yeah.
I listened and listened and listened to that album, you know, and I still would. I'm segueing it into albums, but even going to Diamond D, I loved that album.
Diamond D's album, oh man!
And
Sally Got a One-Track Mind was one of my
and
favorite
to be honest,
songs.
you know, he's a fun. You know, okay, he's not consistently doing lyrics like Nas and everything, but that album, there were some great lines in that album.
Yeah.
You know that. And yeah, no, that's one of my favorite. Of that era, that was one of my favorite albums. It was about sort of. I remember Wes Jackson put me. Well, we were talking about, you know, if you could only take 3 albums to the club, you know, and you'd have to do
Wes,
a set.
that is the head of Brickman.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wes.
We were talking ages ago when he was doing the hip hop bodega,
festival, right?
and he was like, "What 3 would you bring?" And you know, when you have to think really quickly, and I said, Aquemini, Stunt Blunts, and hip hop, and Midnight Marauders. And I was like, I think I could possibly rock a set for a good
Absolutely.
hour. With
Absolutely. With Midnight Marauders and Aquemini and Stunt Blunts and hip hop, you could rock an hour.
Yeah.
That's an amazing answer. You're right. You could rock with those 3 albums.
But you could pick another 3, and it's just that he threw it at me, and I was thinking fun.
I'm gonna start asking people that question.
Yeah.
Tell Wes I'm biting off him. Wes, I'm biting off you, Wes.
No, it was my idea, but
then I'm not biting off Wes. I'm biting off you.
No,
Yeah, we can do that.
I said that would be like a good sort of trivia thing, like, you know, if you only had.
Right.
You know, like, because everyone goes, I'm so sick of carrying records around. Okay, so bring 3 albums.
Right.
It's a bit like bringing your USB with.
I love that.
It'd be fun, isn't it? Rock around with 3 albums.
I love that. I love that. It was good talking with
Yes,
you.
thank
We
you
got to
very
do some
much.
business. I need to get you out to spin for the culture somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, these are fun. I missed your last party, unfortunately.
It sucks. It sucks to be you. It was crazy.
I know. I think I was at an event in Long Island or something.
Nah, we'll
Yeah,
get
well,
together. We'll get together.
But yes, thank you very much.
Half of
Yeah,
hip-hop
yeah.
closet block party.
Right, yeah, we
Yeah.
should have, we should have pulled that out.
Thank you to the Hip Hop Closet.
Absolutely,
Thank you for
we enjoyed it.
coming.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah,
We
that was
enjoyed
fun. It was relaxing. It went very quickly. I was like, an hour?
Right.
Yeah,
What are we
it's
gonna
been,
talk
it's an hour and a half. Yeah.
Hold
Was
on,
it?
Cop. Before we jump off, I want to talk to this brother right here. I brought him
Should
here.
we start a new one? Or?
You want to start a new one? What you think?
Yeah, let's start a new one so we could change
Okay,
up.
that's fine. Let's start a new
We'll
one.
be back.
All right, she wants me to close it out. What's how I close it? All right, we'll be back next Tuesday. We're back now. Are we gonna? This is for the fall. Are we taking any more time off? I'm going to Cancun. I won't be here on the 20th.
Yeah,
And then I'll be in
we're
Martha's
done
Vineyard on
until
the 27th.
September. Yeah, after this we're done.
After this, we're done till September. Okay.
But we have
Guess
a
who I
special
saw?
guest coming
Right.
in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got a special guest. We're gonna bring it back for y'all. So if you
5
live on the
minutes,
thing,
yeah.
give us
If
5
you
minutes,
just hop
and we're
back
gonna bring
on.
him back. But listen, guess who I was with on Saturday?
Who?
Rashad.
Oh, for real?
I said, yo, I'm telling Kyle right now, we got to bring
And
you in
what did he
September.
say?
He was like, I'm with it. Let me
Oh.
know what day in
All right,
September.
we
So
gonna see
we
who
finally
gonna
going to get
do it,
Rashad
Rashad.
Smith. He was spinning on Hancock, on Jefferson.
I think I saw that. 'cause he was
Between Marcy and Tompkins. I ran right down on him like, yo, what's up, B? You've been eluding us forever, you know what I'm saying? But we'll be
Yes.
back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I got a
just
very
give us,
special
like,
guest I
we
want you
have
to
a-
meet.
Yeah.
Tell a friend to log on when you see us live. Come back in because I got just 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to have a long conversation, but I need to introduce you to somebody, all right? So we'll be back. Thank you, Misbehaviour.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
That
Like I
was
said, we got to do
really
some
good. That
shit.
was
I don't know
fun.
why we haven't done shit before now.